All right, and we're going live. We see the number of attendees increasing. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Shalom. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday. We have people from Finland. We are gonna give everyone a few minutes to join us, and then I'll start presenting us all. We are really happy to have you all here, and we have a really exciting program for today. So get ready, grab some coffee, some water, take a little time to go to the loo if you haven't done so, because this is going to be exciting. We have the entire communities team joining us from Israel, as you can see in the chat. Oh, wow. We already have questions in the Q&A. These guys are fast. Hello and welcome, everyone. We have already 170 attendees. We're going to start in a few minutes. In the meantime, I would like to present the rest of the presenters who are joining me here today. We have Guy, who is Waze COO. We have Chen, who is a product manager at Waze. And we also have Ruben, who is also a community manager for the Beta team. And I'm Mauro, and I'm a community manager as well, for those of you who don't know me. The numbers keep increasing. That's great. We're going to give it 2 more minutes until we officially start. Just want to remind everyone who is not familiar with this platform that if you have any questions for us, you can already start writing them down and adding them to the list in the Q&A section right next to this chat, right next to the main chat. We have, as I was saying, we have a really exciting program for today. We have, I guess that, I believe that Chen also has some great news to share with us, which is kind of going to happen in a few more minutes. See, I think that Ruben's camera has
frozen.
got better. There might be some delay.
And to close the few tabs to be.
All right, as you know, everybody's working from home under this current reality that we're living. So internet, our personal internet might not be as good as the office internet. So we ask for your patience and we thank you for your patience while we are doing this. Anyways, this webinar is going, this new edition of the office hours is being recorded. So if you're having any issues, do not worry. We're definitely going to share it with you at the end of it. And together with the follow-up to the questions, if there are any of the questions that we didn't get to answer. But I think that we can start. It's 3 minutes past the start of the webinar. So as I was saying, I'm joined today here by Waze COO, who is Guy, Chen from the product team, and Ruben from the community beta team. So I wanted to thank you, all of you, for being here and joining me. I wanted to thank our great community for being here. There's a few things that I wanted to mention, as this is the second session that we have of this open community office hours, which is, as you know, for all levels and for everyone. I mentioned the internet connection, it might be a little bit unstable at times, but do not worry. We're going to be sharing with you a recording, and we are going to be stopping if we get any feedback from you that we're having issues. The second thing that I wanted to mention, and somebody was writing it right now on the chat, is that you have an option. There is an option at the Q&A section to upvote questions. Feel free to do it, but stop doing it from the moment that we start answering questions, because it makes a mess, and it's a little bit problematic to follow up on questions. But I want to guarantee that there are not going to be any questions unanswered. If we have no time at the end of this webinar, we're going to be answering all of your questions through the follow-up. So don't worry. The fact of the webinar, of the upvoting, might mean that we are going to be able to answer them live, but all of them at the end of the day are going to be answered. Something else that I wanted and actually my last point that I had to mention today before I pass the word on to Guy, is that we're all a community. Some of us might be part of this community for a few years, but some others are newbies and might have joined the community very recently. We are aware that there are some questions that might be a little bit basic, and that's completely okay. We have all started at some point and asked weird questions or silly questions, and that's completely fine. So don't be afraid to enter any of your questions at the Q&A section. Lastly, I wanted to mention our agenda for today. First of all, Guy, as I said, he's Oasis COO, and he wanted to say a few words to our community. And after that, we're going to have a great presentation by Chen, who is a product manager at Waze, and it's going to be about lanes. And at the end, we're going to reserve some minutes to answer any questions that you guys entered at the Q&A section. So with no further ado, I want to introduce to Guy, and to thank you for joining us, Guy, today. And it's on to you.
Okay, can you hear me all? Okay. I'm very new to this application running on my app, on my desktop, but I hope that everybody can hear and see. I just wanted to say how grateful and thank you to all the community in this crazy time of all the work that you are doing, and the fact that we still get together, even if we are doing it only digitally. I wish we can go back to the regular meetups, but until we do, it's so important that we can speak and hear and learn. And I understand that the plan with the webinar and the digital meetups that we are doing is really getting to everybody. I see the feedback and I see everything. Today, the biggest thank you is about the feature that was actually asked and was all focused on the community. It was asked by the community. It is a very long request, so I'm so happy that we are finally getting there, and we are in the last mile of it, and we still need your help in order to make sure that it is active. Please be safe, and I hope that you and your family are good. And once again, I really want to thank you. And I also enjoy some of the webinars, and I will going to keep hearing about the lanes and see when it's going to be out in production. So thank you very, very much. And I will move the stick to Chen.
Actually, to me.
Yeah, to Robbie.
So hi, everyone. As Adra said, thank you very much for taking the time for being here. in these weird times. We're really happy to see you, and today it's even more happy because we have a great news from Chen and regarding lanes. Not all of you know, but we have been testing lanes in smaller groups for our first period in alpha, both in the WME and in the app, meaning people testing like mapping lanes in the map and testing from the other side from the end user while driving to make sure that the driving experience would be smooth and the actual indication that the driver would receive would be helpful for him instead of making more confusion. After a small phase of alpha, we moved to beta, and in beta we've been testing with the editors, experienced editor level 6, and then we enlarged the audience to 5 and 4. And in the last days, we felt that it was the moment to take advantage of this situation where less people are driving outside, so we feel more safe in taking a bit more risk. And starting to open and planning the rollout to production for the future. So as we speak, we are opening the WME lanes capability to edit in WME in production. After the webinar, we'll announce it in the forum with all guidelines, how-tos, and all the information, what we did till now, what we're going to do in the near future. At the beginning, what is really important to say that based on the lock rank will be around 3 or 4. Lower editor won't be able to see the lanes tab and the lanes data. We are aware that it's not optimal, so we're working to fix this. But at the beginning, now with the current capabilities that we have, it won't be able for only who can edit it will be able also to see the data, but we'll take care of it. And at the same time, in the next stage, we're going to open the lanes to a wider beta audience, meaning all the people that are beta testers, that are part of the Center Code communities are aware, will be able to open it and make sure that who still can drive during this situation will be able to get the lane guidance and provide feedback to us in this time. Of course, since it's a feature that needs to be mapped, in order to make sure that you will see the lanes, we need some time for the editors community to reach coverage and edit all the relevant junctions. But of course, like this is the perfect time to map it and test it. And the next steps that Chen will deep dive into it is, of course, like starting country by country. So we're planning to roll out gradually per country, and maybe sometimes not the 100% of the whole audience, but like specific, let's say starting by a 10%, 15%, 20% to test it, make sure that really, as I said before, this will help actually the driver and not cause more confusion. And at the same time, we've been really in touch with the coordinators of every country throughout this period to make sure the lock rank will be adaptive, to make sure that the country is ready, we have enough coverage, and once we are open, even if to a small audience in production, the user that drive really can get already the lane guidance in the app for the really important lanes, for the really important junction. So as I said, like you will see the announcement in a couple of hours in the WME. So we're really excited that this happened. Everyone in the company was waiting for it, and we're happy that we get to this point. And of course, I want to thank you all the beta editors, both editor and tester, that really make this possible. We received huge feedback, a huge amount of feedback, and really helped us improve the feature and make sure we get to this point where we feel safe to draw a rollout plan. On this note, I think I will pass the mic to Chen that can deep dive and present a bit more about the feature.
Sure, thank you. Mauro, can you help me with the slides? Just 1 second. Thank you. So hi, everyone. This is very exciting for me to share with you. We've been working on this feature for a long time. This was one of those things that we thought was going to be much simpler when we started off, and as we went along and started planning and developing this feature, we found out just how complicated this is. It was a very, very big project with a lot of different teams in the company working on it, and a lot of work together with the community, which was very exciting. You'll see more about that in a few minutes. We have a lot of community members here today that maybe did not see this on Meetups and don't really know this feature yet. So I'm going to start from the beginning. In lane guidance, when we think about showing lanes in the app, the first thing that we think of as map editors or as people who work with Waze for a long time is that we think about the map. How are we mapping this? So basically in WME, we see 3 types of junctions. As you can see here, we have a simple junction, which is the plus junction. This is the most straightforward type of junction we can see in WME. And that is the most that has the most resemblance to real life. Like if in real life we would see this in 3D as a big plus if we were to look from up. And the second one is the hashed junction. In some forms, we see it as an H junction. This is a thing where the community creates some kind of a spread of the plus junction. When you need to portray more complicated cases like U-turns and things like that, we have a lot of those on the map. I think we once counted about 200,000 of them all over the map, which is a lot. And this was one of the more complicated cases to solve. We'll talk about it soon. And the last thing that we have is what we call a tree junction, which is not really a junction, but it's basically a route within a junction box that the community has edited. So when we're looking at the route, we have different perspective regarding those lanes. And these was the 3 cases that we had to solve when we thought about this feature. Sorry, my laptop is moving. So let's start. Basically, let's talk about the simple one. For those of you who are currently level 4 and up, and after we start doing more work with the community, once we feel this is about time with the community leaders, we're going to open it for lower levels as we go along. But for now, if you're level 4 and up, you'll be able to see, once you select the segment, you'll be able to see on the left panel the addition of the lanes panel next to the closure. Once you go in there, you can see we're now showing we're showing the lanes panel. You can, when you don't have anything edited yet, it looks like this. When you click add lane guidance, then you will be able to add the number of lanes you have for that turn. And once you add the numbers, we look at the turns that are enabled from that segment, and you're able to determine from which segment, from which lane the driver is allowed to take a turn to which segment. So it's very straightforward. I think I have a video here. We'll try to look at it in a second. But once you're done and you've already edited it, it looks like this. This is a preview mode in case you don't need to edit it. And if you look at a junction that was already edited, or in a segment that was already edited with lanes, this will how the panel will look. I'm not sure if this is if we're able to show this video. I don't think we can. Mauro, do you want us to try to share the screen? Let's move to the end of the presentation, and if we'll have time, I have a video here to show you how it's done. Either way, we can also share it after the webinar, so it's not a problem. But this is a video showing one of our QA guys basically opening the Street View and editing lanes accordingly. It's very, very simple. So this is how you edit a simple junction in WME. And oh, this is not working also. This is very bad. Sorry. I'll try to share my screen because I want you guys to see how it looks in the app. Let's see if it works. I'll be happy if someone tells me if you're seeing my screen. Anyone?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so I'll show you the video. Let's see if it works. Just a second. Okay, so here he selects the segment. You see there is an exit from this road. He will add the number of lanes. In the street view, just in 2 seconds, you'll see he's taking up further down the road. Now you can see here, by the end of this segment, you have 3 lanes. From the right one, you're able to actually take the exit. So this is basically how you edit it. So we have a few things to mind here, because you're selecting the entire segment, but basically what you're adding is the amount of lanes that you're going to see when you take the turn, and not the amount of lanes that you're seeing in the middle of the segment. This is very important to remember, because we do not want you to split segments in order to edit merging lanes or any change in the lanes number. This capability will be added maybe in the future if we see a need for it. Basically, I'm not sure we're going to need it. So it's important to remember, this is a very important guideline. When you select a segment, you edit the number of segments and the turns to take from, and the number of lanes and the turns to take from them, as you will see them when you take the turn. So now let's try and see this. Okay, so this is how it's going to look in the client. The same turn. When you get to the turn instruction will be replaced by the lane guidance instruction that will show you, that will highlight the lane that you should take in order to take the turns that you need to with your route. Another thing I want to mention here is that for regular roads, for all roads, you're going to see them approximately 500 meters before you get to the turn, and for highways, it's going to be about 1 kilometer. So this is another thing when you debug, when you test the feature, that you should mind, that you're not seeing it too soon, that you're not seeing it too late, because this can very much affect this feature in terms of when is it more confusing or when is it helping. Okay, I'm going to move on. Are you seeing my presentation just fine still? I'm going to assume.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have opened this initial capability. This was the simple plus junction was the first thing we added, and we allowed the alpha team and also level 6 editors to play around with, and we got some feedback. The first feedback that we got that was very, very impactful in terms of the way we are looking at the feature was that the community is going to be needing the ability to determine exactly what angle are we showing in the client. When we first released this, the angles of lanes were determined by the angles of the segments that we saw in WME. It was automatically pre-populated, and this was the first feedback that we got. And basically, you're now able to you will be able to do it once you click on one turn. You can decide which angle you want the client to show. The client takes the angles themselves and the lanes and the error for lanes from WME, so it will be shown exactly the same. So we really appreciate this feedback. This was the first thing that we changed. The second thing that we're going to discuss now is the hash junction, as I said before. Hash junction is a much more complicated case. As you know, most of you, I assume, this is basically, a hash junction is basically a plus junction, but it's broken into 2, which means if I have a simple if I have a junction that in real life seems pretty simple, I can go straight, I can turn right, I can turn left. In WME, for some cases, it looks like a hash, which means if I stand on the most bottom segment, as we see here in the example, and I want to set all of these turns, I won't be able to, because if I stand on the first segment, I'll only see the continue straight, and I'll only see the turn right. And if I stand on the short segment in the middle, I'll only see the continue straight and only see the turn left. So we were very worried about how we're going to solve this, because basically in WME, whenever we connect a few segments together, in the back end, it creates a junction box, and we wanted to avoid that because junction box it's messy, it's very complicated to edit, and low levels are unable to do that. So our solution was to actually develop a heuristics within the routing that will deduct that these two are one. The heuristics actually asks itself, does this assortment of segments feels like it is a hash junction? And if we determine it is, we actually show all the lanes that was edited in all the parts of the hash as one, as you can see here in the example. This is a bit tricky to explain over a presentation, but as soon as you start touching it on the map, you will understand it perfectly. And also, we are always available to keep on answering questions about that. So basically, the way for you to edit the hash junction is just to edit the segments as you see them, and to trust the routing to know to connect the two together. What we did for this part of the project was just to ask very high-level editors and alpha editors to edit this in this quirky way, and to see whenever the heuristics worked and when didn't it work. We had very, very long sessions or very long time of iterations with the community. When they tried it, they edited, they drove their cars, and they gave us the screenshots and told us when did it work and when didn't it work. And we tweaked the heuristics and changed it and fine-tuned it until most of the cases actually worked. We inspired to be right for 80% of the cases. I do want to mention there are all kinds of hash junctions on the map. Not all of them looks like a classic hash like we see here. In cases that we have a diagonal segment growing across it, or any other case where it's not the classic shape, the heuristics is not able to recognize it and it won't work. In case the edit for the hash junction does not work, there is unfortunately currently one of two options. You can either delete it like completely, decide that this is not such an important junction and lanes is not completely necessary, and you can delete it. And then you can decide if you add a map comment over that junction that says, guys, this is not working here, please don't edit lanes here. The other option in the future will be to create a junction box over that junction and to solve it through that. But this is in the future. I will say that in case it doesn't work, it's not necessarily a big deal. We as a company give you guidelines only to edit lanes if you feel that it's needed in that junction. Every community looks at it different. Some communities think that every junction should be mapped. Some communities don't. I personally don't think you should map every single junction, but it's really, at the end of the day, it will be your call. So this is about hash junctions. I'll be happy to further discuss after the webinar. The last capability that we added in terms of junction boxes, this is for the higher level editors in the bunch. We weren't sure at the beginning if we will be able to have this capability, or will junction box routes will be edited in the context of the routes only, which would make it a lot harder for us to release the feature. Fortunately for us, we were able to actually have this capability. Segments within, inner segments that are included within junction box, in case they're not locked for high levels or for whatever level they are locked, you are able to edit them even if you're not level 5, and even if you're not editing the entire route for junction box. You can just edit them the same as you would every other segment. And this is very good news for us, because this expedited our ability to release the feature. So now I do want to mention we are now in the process of a rollout for this feature. We're taking advantage of the fact that COVID-19 has stopped half of the world and we don't have many drivers out there. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity for us to actually test in production the feature and to see how helpful it is. But please beware, even if you see this feature, it is not 100% the way we want it yet, but we are starting to test. So the things that we are still working on, and it's important for you to know, first one is the ability to control continuous straight instruction. Today, what happens is that the only time you'll hear continuous straight in the TTS is an instruction. There are two cases. First of all, if the routing server has decided that this instruction is needed, then you'll hear continuous straight. The second case is in case the community has edited an instruction override in WME for that turn, and added continuous straight there. These are the two cases. When you add instruction override to WME, you're basically forcing routing to add this instruction. And basically, you would force lanes to be shown, but this is not the way we want you to do it. It's not always working perfectly, and basically it's a hack, and also you can't even control the TTS and the view of lanes through instruction override. The correct way to do so will be through the lanes panel. This is something that we're now developing. You'll be able to see the checkbox that will say if you want to show continuous straight or don't you want to show continuous straight. This is especially for cases when you have a highway with many exits on it and you want to show people that they need to stay on the middle lane and not to take the exit, but not necessarily to have TTS saying it over and over again. This is a great way to keep people on the right track without distracting them for each time that you're going to move from one segment to another. Drivers are not aware of how segments are being divided and shouldn't be hearing the instruction over and over again. So this will be the right way to do it and the most clean way to do it. This feature is in development. Once we're going to be very close to releasing it, we're going to communicate and you'll know exactly how it works. The other thing that we're working on is TTS improvements. When we release lanes now, you won't be hearing TTS. We had an initial implementation of it, and we got feedback that it wasn't working very well. We have a lot of feedback from the community, and this is a project we're currently working on. And once the implementation is good enough, we're going to release it also to the client, and TTS will also work. Please mind that you won't always hear TTS for lanes. It depends also on how fast you're driving, and we're also not planning on having TTS heard for trivial turns. For example, if you are approaching a turn where you need to take the left lane in order to turn left, you may not hear the TTS playing. So it's not necessarily a bug. We will share the exact spec when we release it, and you'll be able to test it. And the last thing that is now in planning, this is like the white whale of lanes and the most complicated thing to do, which is the junction box solution. The full solution for junction box is going to include two things. First of all, we want to include there a manual way for you to override the heuristics in the hash junctions. For cases that the heuristics does not work, or the junction is not a classic hash and you're not able to solve it through the heuristics, we do want to have a manual way for you to edit and to basically tell us that two segments needs to be showing a merge view of the lane guidance. This is the first thing. The second thing, which is the most requested and the most hard to do, is to show preferred lanes, which means once you enter the junction box and throughout the entire route and until you exit the junction box, you'll be able to determine on which lane you recommend driving in each part of the way. This will allow you to start instructing drivers a lot before they actually see the turn on how to take the turn in the best way. This can be a real game changer for us. No other app knows how to support this. I know Google Maps, they can do it for one segment before the turn, but we will actually allow it to be for as long, like for as many segments as included within the junction box. But you'll have to be patient about that. This will take a lot more time to do. But either way, this is the last step, because up until now, we've been working on feature parity and aligning ourselves with other apps. So everything you see today will allow you to at least do that before we have this new capability added. So one of the last thing I want to tell you is just a little bit about, let's see what time it is. Okay, we still have time. I want to tell you a bit about the data collection that we're going to do when testing this feature, what's important for us to know, and what's important and also it's important for me that you guys will know what we're looking at when we're testing this feature. So the first thing, when lanes is going to be edited, and it's very, very important personally for me to know, is what is your feedback? What is the community feedback regarding the feature? How do you think it's performing in terms of editing and in terms of driving? This is, you guys are power users, and you know exactly what you've done, you know how you edited it, you know how what's happening on the road, and it's important for me to hear your qualitative feedback. The second thing that we're going to look at, and it's very interesting to see, and this is now our chance, thanks to COVID-19, that we'll be able to look at. So basically, once we release to production, we're going to look at one specific thing. In junctions where lanes was shown, okay, we can look at the reroutes around that junction in relation to the route determined in the first place. If we see an increase of the reroutes, then we know we did something wrong. Then we know that this feature may be more confusing than helpful. We can check it also as an experiment in comparison to drivers who drove on the same junction without seeing lanes. We can also look at past drives on those junctions, and we can see if there are more reroutes or less. If we're seeing less reroutes, then it's great. Then we know we helped users take the right turn, and we actually provided them with a better driving experience. If we see more of them, then we're worried. Then we're going to roll back and check what is going on. Why is this more confusing? If we see no change, then no change. We may not really see change. I know many people are they know the routes, and also we want to distinguish between familiar routes and non-familiar routes. But this is something that we need more density in order to test. So maybe this will wait until COVID-19 is over, and we'll be able to distinguish between the two types of drives. And the last thing I want to say regarding data that we're going to collect is about editing. One of the most important things that we're looking at before releasing to production is coverage. How many junctions has been edited? There are two things that are important here. What you're saying. I mean, it's very easy for me to collect from each community, even a spreadsheet that will say, these are the permalinks for the important junctions that people get confused at, or the main junctions in where I live that I think should be edited. And then we can go one by one, and we can see that these are edited and approved by you, and we can release. The other thing that we're going to look at is editing plateau. If I see that we see a lot of edits once the feature is released and everyone loves it and you're editing a lot and everyone's happy, this is great. Once I see the lines starting to straighten, people and editors are starting to leave this feature alone. They're not editing it anymore. This is a good indication for me to go back to you guys and to see what's going on. Are you done? Do you feel like the important places are already mapped? And this is also something that we're going to look at. I think that's it for me. Thank you very much for listening. It was a bit long, I'm sorry. And we are going to, as Ruben said, we are going to, I'm going to stop sharing. So we're going to open the feature to production in WME today and to beta in the client tomorrow. We're going to give the community some time to edit and to look at the feature. And once we feel we have coverage and everyone's happy, we are going to release it with an experiment to production in countries that would want us to, and we can share some data once we have it. And that's it from me.
Thank you, Chen. It's like an amazing feature. We want to, I think that in the names of the community, I want to thank you about it. Other than that, we have, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we do have a poll this time. So we're going to start polling, and the poll says 2020 will be remembered for COVID-19, Lanes That Ways, or Tiger King, the Netflix series. So we're going to move to the Q&A section. We have about 20 minutes to do it. I'm going to ask, I might ask for some of your assistants, both Chen and Ruben, to answer our community. The first thing that I would like to say is please stop upvoting now so that we can go through them. But do not worry, because we are going to answer all of them in the follow-up anyways. So, and I would like to ask you to stay until the end. I mean, first of all, there's some questions that we might need to investigate anyways, and we're going to ask you some more time to investigate them. And please stay until the end, because we do have a survey at the end of this webinar. We would like to hear from you and to get your feedback as well. Oh, and we are joined also by Dalia, who's here as well. So the first question is, there are intersections where best continuation involves being in a specific lane. Since there's not an instruction here, there will be no lane guidance, correct? Should editors force an instruction in those cases, or can Waze detect these cases and display lane guidance even though there is no instruction?
No, we can't show lanes if there is no instruction. This is something that we cannot do. Basically, if I understand you correctly.
And I think this is a question around preferred lanes.
Oh, okay. So for preferred lane, as I said, you'll be able to edit it once we add the junction box capability. This will happen further down this year, 2020. But I do want, just in case, I think there are two, I feel like there were two questions there. Everything that has to do with preferred lanes will happen after we develop the junction box solution. Regarding the forcing an instruction, sorry, regarding forcing an instruction, this can happen through the continuous straight checkbox, which will be a lot sooner.
All right. Second question from Behnam. Regarding reporting tool, can we can tune the direction of road which report is related to? So many reports we add go for the wrong direction. My suggestion is enable us to add direction like we do in adding cameras in WME.
I don't think this is a lane question, so I'm not going to answer it.
It's a general.
This is a reporting tool question that we said, like, thank you, Behnam, for the suggestions. We know that the reporting tool currently is not being fully maintained, like it's there, and there was a plan for we have a new PM for the partners area. Because mainly this was born as a partner tool, and he will look into it, what is needed to be saved and what will change. So currently that's the situation. We know that it's not optimal, but once we'll have a better tool of changes, we'll let you know.
Next question from Bradley. What's the status of CarPlay dashboard support for iOS 13.4?
I think we will need to get back to Bradley. What, Dalia?
I think we'll need to get back to him about that.
Correct.
So I'll mark it as answered, but anyway, we're gonna get back to you about that. Next one, Andreas, on the lane feature, do you plan to add voice announcement for the lanes?
Can you say it again?
If we plan to add voice announcement for lanes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, we're working. We already edited the first phase of it. It did not work so well. We got an amazing doc from the community, and this is now already in development.
Perfect. Lubin, do you know if a new Waze forum will come out or it will be redesigned?
I'm happy to take that question. Indeed, our current forum platform, which is on PHPBB, hasn't been upgraded and updated in a long time. And that's something we really want to do as a team. And it's something that we have in the plans for this year, but we don't have something specific to share, unfortunately.
I think Mauro went away.
I think we lost Mauro. I'll continue with the question for a while. What is with roundabouts? If it will be active in LA? Lane assistance.
Lane, yeah.
No. Roundabout is currently not supported for lanes. I'm not sure how urgent this is. I did not receive a lot of feedback. But once it's out a bit like more widely, then we should consider it. Roundabouts in general, it's a very complicated thing to support. It's not that easy to do. So we will see the feedback and get back to you accordingly.
Great, I'll mark that as answered for now. Mauro, you back? You want to take the next question?
Sorry. Robert, is there any instruction how LA works in the hashtag intersections? I mean, maximum size, angles, etc.
It won't work with if I understand the question correctly, it's not going to work. Either the junction is looks exactly as a hash, the heuristics is going to find it very problematic to recognize. So in those cases, it's either you re-edit the junction. I don't know the reasons why these junctions look so complicated, but if there is not a very, if the reason was not super crucial, you can just edit it back to being a clean hash and try it again. You can also send us the examples. We have a form, we have a spreadsheet for that. You can send us the example. You can say exactly what happened, what you edited, and what happened in a client. We can look at it. We're always happy to see more examples. So you can send it to us. You can also decide that this is a junction that does not need lane guidance on it, or we can wait until the junction box solution will be developed.
All right. Kevin, currently when you select a segment that has a straight, oops, please guys, no upvoting, that has a straight or right or turn right, you only get 2 options to add lanes to. For example, lane 1 and lane 2 might be straight, and lane 3 is straight or right. Lane 4 is right only.
I think
How do you add additional options?
You cannot add additional options, if I understand correctly, and if it's not, if I misunderstood, please correct me in the chat or something. If I understand you correctly, this is a hash junction case. So what we instruct you to do now is to edit every bit of the hash as you can. Edit the first segment with the turns that you see, and the next segment with the turns that you see. The heuristics is supposed to be able to merge the two lanes views together, and then you should test it in the client and check if you're actually seeing it correctly.
All right. Next question from Andreas. For the lanes, how do you intend to set up lanes which are splitting at the point of the intersection? Freeway exit, 3-lane freeway, right lane exit only, middle lane splits, stay and exit, left lane stays on freeway.
I don't exactly understand the question. If you are referring to splitting the segments, that in the middle of the segment, the lanes are being merged. Yes. Ruben, do you understand it better maybe than I do?
I'm going to reread it from the text. But I missed the question.
It's the first question on the top. I can read it to
For
you.
the lane, how do you intend to set up lanes which are splitting at the point of the intersection? Freeway exit, 3-lane freeway, right lane exit only, middle lane.
Because what's confusing to me is if they're splitting in the end of the segment when you take the turn, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Andreas clarified in chat, I can supply an example. It's about the number of lanes to configure. So I guess share that example with us and we'll take it offline after the webinar.
All right. Question from Ian. Any news about Friends feature?
I think we can, we don't have a specific update about the Friends feature, but I think it's important to mention that things like gamification and the kind of things that are fun that allow you to connect with others are things that are important for Waze this year. However, we don't have any more specific answers since we also had to reprioritize a lot of the things that we're working on right now. So for now, I'm afraid that's the best answer I can give you.
Questions from David. What's the status of adding more functionality to Waze for Android Auto so that its features are not so limited? It needs to be more like using the phone app.
Yes, I can relate. I can answer this. So basically, this has become a priority for us in the driving squad. It's like Dalia said, a lot of things changed because of the new situation that we're in. But basically, we have a few things that we hope to achieve this year. The first one will be actually to redesign the platform. To redesign the platform, so it will be more. So we will be able to add more features on top of it easily. This is something that we're working on now. We're also talking with Android Auto about it, so I hope we'll have good news regarding this throughout the year.
Just if I can add something that, like Ken said, like it's really like we always strive to get like feature parity on all platforms. One example is now in CarPlay, the lanes is already in beta. So this will take more Android Auto, but like we're always trying to push to be on the same on every platform at the same level.
I can say that things that I've seen that from the beginning of the concepts of the redesign are really, really good. We have Lena, which is the best UX designer, and that we're in good hands.
Next question from Dennis. Unfortunately, cannot see whether the lanes work in hashtag intersections. Is a solution planned in the WME so that the segments are not accidentally shifted and you can see whether the correct results arrives in the app?
No, I don't have a way to do that, and it's not planned at least, and because basically I can't tell unless the community does not tell me or I don't get some report from the client. There is no way for me to automatically know that if it worked well or not. So I cannot simulate it. At least for now, the best thing I can suggest is that in case you are testing your own junction that you have edited, you can leave a map comment over it if it's working or not, or maybe you can decide as a community you're only commenting on hash junctions that didn't work, but it's going to be some kind of a manual process like this.
Another question from about Android Auto from David. Ways for Android Auto needs to show line guidance, or the feature is of no use to those users. Any word or on when or if WA will be able to show that information?
So there is no word on the when, but we're definitely going to support lanes in Android Auto and also in CarPlay.
Right. Next question from Bert. The lanes tab is only visible as of level 4, would it be possible then to show to all editors, but make sure to read only for all?
Yes, we're going to work on it. It's not available right now, but Dalia was sharp enough to catch this on time, and we definitely want it to be in a read-only mode in WME, and we're going to work on that.
Thank you. Question from Ian. How do you deal with dedicated lanes for public transport?
It's a good question. We're currently not dealing with it. And I think that we first need to support the basic functionality as we see it in other apps. And then we're going to continue to support also public transport lanes.
Right. How does Waze store statistic traffic data to predict travel times? Is that still in reference to segment and nodes, so that the deletion of those node segments would cause a loss of this information?
So if I understood that question correctly, we haven't changed anything specifically in the way that we're calculating ETA and historical times. So as usual, if you delete a segment or you split it, we lose some data, and that helps us predict.
Thank you. Will Apple Music be supported?
Who knows? These are the kind of things that we unfortunately can't answer as part of webinars. So we'll have to archive that question. I'm sorry.
Is it planned to show the lanes straight ahead without a voice prompt?
Yes, it is planned. When we're going to add one of the top requests, and one of the fine-tuning of that request actually is that when we're now developing the continuous straight capability, you're also going to be able to control if you want the TTS to be played or not while showing the continuous straight highlight for lanes.
Is there a possibility to adjust the lanes guidance notification? In some instances, the lanes guidance shows up too early in urban settings, and other settings it shows up in a bit late.
So basically, right now we only have control over the configuration for highways and the rest of the roads. I can't control it per segment, but we can fine-tune the distances. I suddenly have a blackout regarding if this is configurable per country. I'm not sure. I'm going to get back to you and check.
All right. Why HNs with letters are not priority?
I think I'll take that question. So I think the reference here is to alphanumeric house numbers. Currently, these are supported to a certain extent. So for example, if you have a street address that is called the street name 4A, you should be able to map that, and it's also searchable. But more advanced patterns like long combinations of numbers with special symbols in between are not searchable. And they're not a priority because we have seen that they're not as common as formats like 4A, and it's quite a lot of developer resources that would go into adding it. But if you have a specific format that you know is very, very dominant in your country and affects a lot of users, please let us know, let your community manager know, and we can try to get it prioritized. But currently, it's not on the top of our roadmap.
What's the state of CarPlay dashboard support for iOS 13.4? Didn't we answer?
I think we had that question.
Yeah. How will you address circles in lanes, especially when the circle has multiple lanes? The user needs to move over to the right lane at the right time and exit.
We currently don't support it.
Okay. Ruben, did you want to say something?
No, I was just saying it was similar to the previous questions about roundabouts. And
yes, we already answered.
All right. Question from Yoav. In case there are two consecutive 100-meter primary straight type segments with lane guidance, and at the end of each one there is a left turn, and there is no instruction to continue from one segment to the next one. Then when does the lane guidance start for someone who has to turn left at the end of the second segment? Does it start 300 meters before the turn he has to take, or does it start only at the beginning of the second segment?
It's supposed to start 300, not 300, it's changed now. It's about 450 meters before. That's what it's supposed to do. We can check this specific case. If you can send it to us, Ron and I can take a look at it.
Yeah, I think we need to analyze this,
This sounds like a very specific kind of thing that I would like to look at.
Yeah, it needs to be simulated.
So we actually have run out of time. I'm going to go ahead and read one last question, but do not worry for the rest of the questions that are here. We're going to make sure to follow up on them. So the last questions from George is, do you have any plans to give users the ability to report lane errors in map issue menu?
It's a good question. I think currently, like for the first stage, we did not plan to do it. I'm not really sure. We weren't really sure also with the UX team how much attention a user, like a driver, is able to have while driving, while seeing lanes for a few seconds and making a turn and reporting in the same time. I'm not convinced. I mean, as a PM that plans this project, obviously I want to know everything that happens and every time we have a mistake. But as a PM that thinks about how the driver is going to feel when they're trying to take a turn and report simultaneously, I'm not sure it's the best thing to do. I think we should wait a bit before we make this decision. Also, when we have the experiments, maybe get some feedback. I think it's going to be a very hard thing to report.
All right, so we have finished with our Q&A section. We're going to be sending our answers to the rest of them in the follow-up post that we're going to have at the forum. To wrap this up, I just want to go over the poll that we posted, and I want to say that, of course, COVID-19 has won with 113 votes.
No!
But lanes, it's just under with 90 votes, and I must say that it's taken into consideration the volume of COVID-19. It's a way more positive. Has a way more positive impact to
I was
our
sure
lives.
that Tiger King would win.
Yeah.
Maybe you
You
need to
thought
watch
Tiger
it.
King?
You have to watch it and then re-poll it.
Right, so you got your bet wrong, but we are really happy to know that you guys really like the feature. Please keep sending us your feedback. We are going to make sure to answer to all of your questions. Don't go out just yet. I'm clicking end, and I'm ending this webinar, and I want to thank all of our presenters for being here. But for all of you guys who are watching us, please stay for one more minute to take the survey at the end of this webinar. Do not close this tab. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank to our amazing community, and we will see you next month for more office hours. Keep safe.
Bye, guys. Thank you very much for taking the time.